recording. There's a case of water right there.
Mark brought it from his office.
I was asking if there's officers offering them a water. Thank you.
I'd like to call to order the superintendent's proposed budget for the Plainville Board of Education, budget workshop number 1 for January 17th, 2023.
Thank you. So I sent just a brief message earlier today to kind of outline the process from where we go from tonight and then moving forward from the point of what is now my proposed superintendent's budget, which you'll hear about in full detail tonight, and then over the next few sessions, maybe 2 more or maybe 3 more sessions. Last year we went to 4. You never know. I do want to thank my administrators who are here tonight. We have a member of the community here as well. You're the only one who's sitting. So, I thought it was important to invite our administrators, even the ones sitting in the dark back there. It's fine. Peaceful. Just so that they could be here for the overview, at least, some from each building in our major departments. We worked on this budget, prepare it to this point as a collaborative effort, so it's important that, they're here. Also, if there's any clarifying questions, we can also get those if needed. I hope to know most of the details about this budget. Sam and I spend a lot of time with the budget. Sam is the numbers guy, spreadsheets, and does a tremendous job, so I want to thank Sam very much. And we kind of have to push some other things aside during budget season, so Dave's picking up a lot of slack on so many other things. So it's a team effort, I guess is my point. So tonight you'll get an overview of this presentation. It is a lot of slides. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the picture slides, but for me, it's kind of what I do. It's why we're here, and I like to include it. You see my newsletters. I included a link to the latest newsletter that all the principals and department leaders add to. So if you want more detail on any of the pictures or the stories behind it, I encourage you to look at those newsletters. But we'll get started. So as we begin our budget process and everything we do, we always look to our vision and to those, the tenets of inspiring, preparing, engaging. Our vision statement: inspire, prepare lifelong learners to follow their passion, engage in their communities, and positively impact our global society. A long time ago, this was developed a couple of strategic planning sessions ago, and then as were the belief statements that everyone agreed were still relevant. I won't read them, but we agreed they're still relevant to the work that this Board of Education is aimed at doing and our district as a whole. So looking closer at this with our famous or infamous, however you want to look at it, 3 rings centered on students, teaching and learning, and our goal statements. This has been our previous vision statement, vision document. This is what I started at convocation with this year and shared with all of our community stakeholders. The only things that have really changed have been the points of focus within the action statements, and also at the very bottom of this, the foundational focus areas, pillars, if you will, that we have been focused on through our strategic planning work. These 5 areas were identified as the core areas that we need to focus on. All the ideas for different projects, for use of ESSER grants, for strategic planning, really related to one of these 5 areas. So that's what structured our work in that strategic planning process that led to these strategic planning priority areas. So I won't read them all. You've seen them. A lot of you have been, or most of you have been involved with strategic planning in one way, shape, or form. But those 5 areas: equity and SEL and mastery, community connections, and systems and operations, and what that means to us in Plainville. And I think it's important to really be clear about what that means in your community. And then at the bottom, those foundational, those core values, or core areas of focus, and core practices that we use in Plainville, focused on the portrait of the graduate as we expand what that looks like and how we emphasize those qualities and what they look like at each grade level moving into the future. SRB, scientific research-based interventions and multi-tiered systems of support. That's the MTS, that's for the acronym world of education. And those enrichment opportunities that we've been building upon through grant funds and Board of Education budgets as well. And then our college and career pathway work has been so successful that you've seen and examples of, spreading across the district as we move that as a foundational focus of what we do, giving that relevance to learning. So these are the goal statements that were developed at our last strategic planning session in the fall that we agreed upon, and we had our little miniature Thanksgiving feast. Our team has now, our leadership team for the strategic planning has now taken this and started to develop the strategic planning objectives, and we'll be developing the actions within those objectives. So we worked on it last week for a few hours, and we're going to be doing more. And then once we move that forward, we'll have those objectives and strategic steps and who's responsible when it's going to get done that we can share out more broadly. So just wanted to share where we are with strategic planning, because everything we do with our budget should tie into our vision and our district strategic plan and our priorities. And as I showed earlier, the kind of that foundational area of focus across the district has been our portrait of the graduate. And a committee from across the district worked on this, developed these qualities, these pillars or tenets or skills. There really are skills of being collaborative, communicative, innovative, mindful, and resilient. This document explains what that means. And as you work toward younger students and getting them to embrace these qualities, learn these skills, we can obviously change the complexity of the words to really define what that means to do these, to be collaborative, to work with others well, to be a team player, to talk with others and work through problems, communicate and solve, be innovative in solving problems, be mindful and understanding the needs of others and respectful of others, your community, and resilient, not giving up. So those are the foundational documents, if you will, or on how we look, the lens we look through when we're looking to improve our district. From the outside looking in, we wanted to make sure, also from within, we wanted to make sure that our district had a common look, a common feel, and everybody knows who Plainville is and what we stand for, and what our branding is basically. So we did a lot of work led by Lynn Davis and Sandy Bouchard and our district administrative team, really looking at our branding, working with an outside marketing firm that came highly recommended by our friends at O&G that were involved in the Wheeler project. They did a great job of helping us really shape what we want for keeping what was valuable to the district and making some subtle and some more bolder changes to our branding. So this was the outcome, and you've seen it, and you're going to see more and more of that expanded across the district as we've committed some resources from the ESSA grants to expand that work. You see a lot at the high school, and you're going to see more and more at all 5 schools, and you'll be involved in that as well. But our mantra this year at Convocation, last year was 5 schools, 1 family, but really 5 schools, 1 PCS team. A team that works together toward a common goal really becomes a family. You have to work together as a family. My brothers and sisters in administration probably want to, exile me from the family at this point, but we all work together. Sometimes we have a playful disagreement, but mostly we're on the same page and we're all pulling in the same direction. So it's a great team. So I'm very proud of the team and the work we've done. You're going to see some points of pride and areas of focus, as I mentioned at the beginning. I won't get into a lot of detail because you know me. I can go on for a long time. And I know we want to get to the budget books. I'm holding them because they're too distracting. If I put them in front of you, you don't want to flip through the pages. So I don't mean to, say you don't have any self-control, but that's what I would do. So I know Sam will, so I have to get a couple of corrections. All right, so there's a link to my newsletter. I know you've all seen it. I send it out once a month now. I've had a little self-control instead of sending out newsletters every week or 2 weeks with probably too much information for anyone to digest. Our principals and our department have done a great job of helping me update that. So it's one common. We have different forms. Some use SMORE and some use other avenues. I like SMORE, but hopefully we're sharing a lot of the great things about this district on a regular basis so our community knows. And welcome to a second parent who joined us. I said there's only one here before, so we're glad to have you with us. All right. So without going too far into it, this board knows about the branding work and also the building improvement work that's been done. You were involved and you voted on this learning commons upgrade as well as the playground upgrade that happened over at Linden. And we have some other big projects in the works in addition to some major some major improvements to like our swimming pool area, and you'll see some slides later on that. Just even the fencing outside, just some upgrades. Our college career pathway work has been really a focus, and the college career pathway committee, led by Dave and Lynn and all the people that are involved with that, Sue Bradley and Deb Peichel, the whole group that is so involved with the pathways. It's been a wonderful endeavor, and the interactive, the videos of alumni that are out on the wall outside there, also the resources and the career pathways on the website. We're just trying to make sure that every student has a pathway and asking them what theirs is going to be and helping them to decide that during their time in high school instead of going to college for 4 years and saying, I don't want to do that, I'm going to have to figure something else out. So the sooner you can make those decisions to rule out or rule in what might bring them joy and fulfillment in their life and prosperity, the better. Our fieldwork experience program has been incredible. You saw me, you were part of the board meeting where I honored Lynn Davis and Sue Bradley and Michael for their extensive work in development of this program in cooperation with so many local business partners and organizations who are supportive of this work. And increasingly, each year we continue to grow on the pathways and fieldwork experience opportunities, internships, job shadows that often lead to career opportunities. So we're really proud of that. And there's more to come. Also, if you weren't able to come to the Learning Adventure Day in December here at the high school, it was truly awesome. So many alumni from here in the gallery, in the Wood Gymnasium, about 65 representatives from all different careers, and then students going out in about 35 different learning adventures around the state, just those authentic. I know Mr. Johnson explained it at the last board meeting during his presentation, but really something to be proud of, and it's very unique in Plainville. This is just the next 2 slides are just some pictures. You've already seen them, but you all have access to this PowerPoint if you want to zoom in or look at anything more closely. I just created this slide as kind of a compilation. I thought it came out pretty nice. Compilation of some of the activities. Everyone has a pathway. What's yours? And it's been really well received by the students and the parents as well. As I mentioned earlier, the portrait of graduate skills are embedded throughout curriculum in our classrooms. When the curriculum is being developed, we're looking to ensure that it aligns with the portrait of the graduate skills, being collaborative, communicative, mindful, resilient, and innovative. Also across the district, you're seeing some high school slides, you'll see a mix, but really looking at supporting the whole student. Our job is to educate young men and women. Everyone who steps through our doors needs a solid, comprehensive education, but they also need the social, emotional, and mental health supports that are needed now more than ever to help them throughout the trials and tribulations of being a young person in a very complex world. So we do the very best we can with the resources we have and continue to develop those resources and programs. So we're not there yet, but I think we've made great strides, and we've added personnel and programs that are really helping to support kids in all facets of their lives. I like this photo. I know Mr. Johnson had it in his presentation. It's just that culminating event of being a Blue Devil, graduation, throwing your caps and gowns. It's kind of the end of a journey. But the end of that journey also signifies the start of a new journey. And I like this slide too. I updated it with the latest information. It's hard to not read through it because there's so many great things, but on the left side you see the class of 2022 outcomes and destinations with how many students are going to college, how many are going 4-year, 2-year. About 2/3 of the students are first-generation college students. 71% accepted to their top choice college. 66, 2/3 attending the first choice college or trade school. So what was interesting though, and just looking at this data compared to last year, we have more who are exploring a vocational or a trade school. We had about the same for military. We're usually between 1 and 3. Fewer going into, fewer undecided, and fewer going into the workforce. But we had, it was interesting that gap year experience, we had 5 students who were taking that gap year to pursue something to extend beyond high school before making their next steps. On the right-hand side, you see scholarships and service, and also college credits earned. It's really impressive how we've continued, since way back when I was here to the present, how we've expanded, shifted, and continued our college credit opportunities for kids. So we had very few UConn ECE courses many years ago. When we've transitioned, we still have the AP courses and opportunities here, and we've expanded some of those, but we have very robust UConn programs, adding, as the board knows, approving of 2 more, and there's another one that they're looking to implement. So there's the general education program, and there's also the special education. There's another one for physical education that you can implement. I think we're looking at, a year from now for that, but just building on the opportunities for students to explore, to earn credits while in school for, less than, I think it's about $150. I don't remember the exact price, but it's about $150 to get 3 college credits. And for UConn, you have to have basically, I think it's a C- or better, and do well throughout the course. AP is really dependent on that high stakes culminating exam in May. So if you did really well and worked really hard throughout the course and seemed like you understood, but you have a really bad day and you don't test well, and you don't get a 3 or most cases a 4 for the AP, those college credits don't often transfer. You have to have at least a 3, usually a 4 for most schools. Some schools require 5. So we have both, and we have large numbers of both. I like the numbers of 675 college credits being earned through UConn. 18 of these students earned 15 or more credits, and 1 earned 31 UConn credits, so they're starting college a whole year, more than a year in advance. For AP, we had 31 students receiving passing scores on 44 AP exams. And I like the next impressive achievement in savings. 20 members of the class of 2022 are starting college careers with 22 or more credits, starting as sophomores, and 7 earned 30 college credits while at PHS. 2 of them earned 45 college credits, so they're starting as juniors in college, leaving high school. So not only is that a benefit to them getting that college rigor in school, which is what we want for all of our students to have that experience, but it's saving a lot of, as I know with one in college now and one who's going to be going pretty soon, we're trying to maximize my daughter on all these classes now in her own school. So it's a great program. Scholarships received, our community does a great job of giving to our kids, a lot of parents and community members, and alumni and families of alumni and families of those who have passed leave really meaningful scholarships, and Night of Excellence is always a wonderful event. And then finally, learning through service. There are obviously some challenges with COVID, but over almost 4,500 hours of community service completed by the class of 2022, despite all the challenges. So those are kind of the numbers from that graduating class. Mr. Smith supplied some, Director of Facilities supplied some additional upgrades. As I mentioned, the pool, our dive stands were in really bad shape and had to, we had to move on to the temporary former location. And those are being, everything's been replaced and is in great shape now for many years to come. We're also looking at doing a whole kind of remake of the pool area. It hasn't been done since it was built. So, bleachers and, painting the whole area, a lot of upgrades that would be presented to you, and, something that we would like to get done with our grant funds, ESSER funds. So we're looking at all those quotes at this time. As you walked, if you came in this way like I did, this looks great, and it adds another layer of just, a bit of security, but it's really more of it's decorative. It keeps kids off their skateboards, jumping down the stairs and things like that, but it just, it looks very nice, as does this area. And that was all grant funded as well. The new playgrounds in Gaga Ball Pit that I learned about through Mr. Smith's slide here. It was invented by the Israeli Army. It's become quite popular with children and adults in the U.S. I've never played. It looks like a lot of fun. I will probably throw my back out if I try. It translates to touch. Okay. Just a few slides, just the SEL work being done around the district classroom charters, really celebrating those qualities of how we want to feel and how we want to make others feel and help others feel within our learning communities. So here's a slide about makerspace and showing those portrait of the graduate skills being collaborative, communicative, and innovative by presenting to the class through makerspace and classroom activities. off their skills to their peers, which is it's a hard thing to learn if you don't do it. I almost passed out my first college presentation because I never had to do it in high school. Now you can't get me to be quiet. But I remember hives on my neck, I couldn't breathe, I was sweating, and it was like 15 college kids I had to do my business communications presentation to. Who knew? All right, so they have played cardboard challenge. Again, this is more of a creative makerspace innovation. They come up with some amazing cardboard creations across the district. This was something really timely with the World Cup this year. This was over at Wheeler, but the 5th grade, Ms. Calabro's class came up with a whole, on their own, the students devised this. They had, you can read it for yourself, but they devised this whole, entire themed unit, if you will, with around the World Cup. So a lot of creativity skills. Just some cute pictures of kids reading in the library. Couldn't resist that. Some kindergartners, 3rd graders, that's over at Wheeler. Some 1st graders doing their subtraction equations using their computer. And you can see, it's got the manipulatives built in, and you can also write on the computer using the mouse pad. And they're smiling, and they're doing math, so that's a good combination. Reading, writing, and math, oh my, I didn't come up with that. Thanks, Ms. Adorado. But a lot of great skills at play, doing quite a bit of writing and reading and math. And I just noticed a tiger in the middle, so I was thinking lions, tigers, and bears, so that kind of fits up on the screen there. This was just showing the middle school and the work they've done to really build on the student experience, healthy ways to have fun, enjoy being there. They've developed an outside area during the lunch area. This time of year is kind of tough with the colder weather, but really developing different opportunities for students to have some choice about how they, different activities they can get involved with across the middle school. So really putting some resources into that, some creative thinking. I've gotten to enjoy that myself with my mentee over there a few times. So. Middle school also sharing this slide with just some of the activities you can get involved in there. As at the high school, just some pictures of Vex and a recent basketball game. I actually have to be at that one. And then the concerts. I got to see the concerts the other night were incredible. You'll see a slide here. There's a little performance. I won't play it for you because of time, but this is a link, 6th grade band performance. It was outstanding. And they actually got a mystery guest to dress up. It was some kind of musical monster in a robot suit, but you can see him kind of in that picture right up there. It was different. It was Mr. Monsignor. But we had 101 students in the 6th grade band. You don't see the stands, but they were packed. I was at the 7th grade chorus concert and then the 6th grade chorus concert, and the auditorium was packed for both of those. The stage was packed for both of those. Just really high-level performances, and it's that way across the district. We have really strong arts programs we're proud of, music. These are just a couple examples of the the role model, the ROARS program over at Tophlon, and the Leaders of the Pack, just really celebrating those qualities that we want to instill in our students as good citizens, good people. And that happens at Linden too. I just didn't have pictures of it. Just an example of some of the hands-on learning opportunities related to the pathways at the middle school that Mrs. Roberts shared, related to medical, culinary, technical, and engineering fields. So we're really trying to expand those career pathway opportunities, not just at the high school, but throughout the entire district in different ways. You see some dissection there. I think that might be just, is that a chicken? Those are chicken parts,
We
Mrs.
had
Roberts?
organs of all sorts.
Oh, those are organs. Okay.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah.
Super cool, but a little smelly.
Yeah. So a lot of good hands. I mean, we have some regular cooking, regular food up there on the right hand side. You can dissect them. That's both worlds. A little recycling project that Mr. Batchelder shared from Wheeler, cooperative between student council and in the entire school, teaming up with H.W. Green Company Incorporated for a school-wide recycling project taking place throughout the year. So you see the students, members of Wheeler Student Council reading a story to introduce the importance of recycling. So a really good way to student government to have an impact on the school and on the environment. The kindness challenge over at Toplan, very nice. Nice way of reinforcing positive behavior and kindness to others. This is No Place for Hate. It's through the Anti-Defamation League. There's assemblies. I was able to attend the first one. I couldn't attend the last one on Friday. But really good work with trainers coming in, working with kids to then train other students, and also working with staff, our SRO, Mr. Dufresne, Officer Dufresne, and other members of the faculty who volunteer to be trained and then to spread that work about not accepting, not being a bystander or a perpetrator, or being an ally, and really helping others to have a good experience in the school. Then you see PLC time also being used to better understand our students' needs. I thought this was really nice. I actually do go into all the principals' newsletters and look around. They do a great job, put a lot of work into it, so I think it's only fair. And this one's from Toplan, but I know this happens at most or all of the schools. I just thought this was really nice. They have I forget what the program's called, Ms. Adorado? Padlet. So you're able to just give a shout out. Sorry, I'm giving away Char's age there, but.
And Amy got yours too.
Oh, yeah, I apologize. But I figured it was public, or at least semi-public. So just a way to give a shout out to your peers, or is it just peers? Yeah, just peers.
Internal in the building, yep.
But it keeps on scrolling down. I took a screenshot, but I thought it was a really nice way to just do something nice for your peers. Since Mr. Smith has been here, and also Ms. Bouchard moving down to the supervisor of the custodian group, the department's now fully staffed. This will help to ensure clean schools that are functioning the way they should be. A fourth maintainer was recently hired, which is an entry-level position. Sadly, to replace our beloved Terry Archer, but now they're up to full capacity, and that'll provide even more coverage for the schools running efficiently and fixing the things that break, or keeping them from breaking in the first place, hopefully. This was just, they did a little reception, a lunch reception as a thank you, some small gifts handed out just to appreciate this group, and to appreciate all they do and help hopefully build morale and keep us moving in a positive direction, and do a tremendous job at our schools. Everybody that comes here just comments how beautiful the schools are, how clean, and how well maintained. Just a little spotlight for kid governor participation. This happened to be at Toplan as well, and the kid governor, they came last year. They come this year too? I wasn't able to be there.
The bus couldn't come this year.
I didn't think
They
so.
don't
Last year
really
the bus
send
came.
them to schools, but-
Yeah. So this young lady had a little platform, and there's a whole campaign video, so you can watch that when you have some time. But I thought I would spotlight that leadership and involvement. Community matters, and so many things that we do. You see, the veteran recognition up there, working with the local first responders, people coming in to read or get involved in classrooms, students going out to perform at all levels in outside venues like at the senior center and other places. Our PJ Day for the kids across the district, I think we were 4th in the state for total collections for public schools. So just a lot of areas to be proud of. Our Veterans Day is, in my opinion, second to none. I know a lot of superintendents, they do some good things too, but I think Plainville gets it right. It was nice to see a former student in the camo, there, who we spent a lot of time together in high school. He's a good kid. But just seeing those alumni coming back and being honored, and all the veterans being honored. And kids really understanding what Veterans Day is all about. It's powerful. So we find opportunities to support the community while bringing in family. There was a toy drive. I happened to be there for this on the left, where they were getting a group photo. They run lots of toys around the holiday season over at Linden. Really nice event. And then on the right there, that was the gingerbread house making activities with the kindergartners over at Linden. Nice, messy, sticky, and some of the candy actually made it on the houses, so that was really good. Those are fun. Lots of family coming in for that, which was nice to see again. Our Learning Adventure Day I mentioned earlier, the gallery walk. All students went through the gallery at the high school, and I have to say that These are all the presenters. A lot of them alumni, not all of them, but a good number. And they're just so impressed by our students, by the questions they had. Some of these presenters had done this at like the college level. And they said our kids had better questions, they were more engaged, more prepared, and really, we're really impressed. And I got to speak to, I think, everyone in this picture, at least briefly. It was awesome. All right, so that's all I think most of the pictures anyway, and just an overview. Like I said, the newsletter shares a lot more of that. Now we'll dive into some of our ever-changing, educating an ever-changing community within an increasingly complex world. And you'll see why I say that. Well, I think we all know it's a complex world. It's more so every day, I think. But we have 32 different languages spoken within our community. Our community of 2,302, I believe, students. It changes here and there, but it's pretty impressive. So the work that Lily Cornell and all the principals and all of our EL supports are doing across the district is really, really important, really powerful. This is a slide that Mr. Lewandowski pulled together for us that I thought was really telling about how the community has changed. I've been here for 13 years, believe it or not, and this goes back to 2001. So it shows, just along the left, the overall student population eligible for free or reduced meals. So the population has gone up from about 2,700 school population to 22. It's really, this year it's closer to, it's over 2,300, but. So from 11.7% free or reduced meals to 41.3%. So almost 4 times the amount of financial need. Non-English home language, it was 5.5, now it's 7.7. And you see some ups and downs there. Graduation rate, from not having any data on that way back, 22 years ago, to 94.4%, which is very good. We continue to work on that. Special ed identified has gone up, each year. It's crept up about 0.3 to 0.3, 0.2% each year since back in each of these periods anyway, I should say, not each year. So these are just kind of points in time that were selected. Then when you look at our proportion of Black, Hispanic, and white, our African American communities remain fairly steady. Our Hispanic community has grown tremendously from 3.9% to 21.9%, and our white population went from 88.2 to 65.6. So I guess the point in this is that, especially with economic need and the complexities and challenges of educating today compared to 20 years ago, it's a very different educational landscape in Plainville and in many places. I've shared this slide a number of times. Adding into all that challenge, you had the COVID learning loss that happened. You had the students who, in the middle there, disenrolled or students who were fully remote. 588 students in total. 112 fully disenrolled. Many have come back since then. But just learning in all different ways, with all different home environments, with all different levels of supports, with all different educational environments. So those have had a real impact, and it's been difficult to counteract and to come back from, and we've invested a number of resources and personnel and programs to recover from that. And we're tracking our data really closely and shifting instruction really closely so that we're recovering. Related to those recovery efforts, the ESSER grant status there's a lot on this page, but basically there are a number of different grants that were awarded based on our communities, where we stand. And ultimately, big pictures at the bottom. We had all the grants have been spent except for the American Rescue Plan Act, which we have about $2.8 million remaining. The town also received about $5 million in ARPA funding. I believe they've spent that down. We're down to our last ESSER grant, which is the American Rescue Plan. It expires in June. Is it June or October? I sent you a...
September 30th.
Yeah, so September 30th of 2024, that should be. We want to have it spent before then. Approximately half the remaining funds are planned for staffing, As you'll see in the budget, when we sit down and look at offsets with the balance to capital, including MSP and a variety of projects. So we have a number of projects that you'll hear about in the coming months that we're going to ask for ESSER funds to be assigned to. That includes the computer monitors over at the middle school that I mentioned at the last budget meeting, the interactive monitors, and some other larger projects. Okay. The roll-up here shows ESSER overspent by $750,674 based on doing nothing differently in rough capital and project estimates. So we have to look at this closely and make sure we're spending that money really carefully so that we're not overspending. We're already in a place where we need, as I mentioned last year at this time during budget cycle, during the budget season, we have to be careful of the fiscal cliff. You heard me say about 50 times last year, because we do have a lot of additional staff and programs that are being funded by ESSER that we have to back away from or decide to include in our budget, and what are we going to remove from the budget so we don't have, an 8 or a 9 or a 10% budget. So that's the challenging work. Those are the conversations we're having, and you'll learn more about that as we go. Per pupil expenditure in Plainville, we are lower than 63% of all districts. We rank 104th out of 166 towns. This is how much they have a formula, and they determine how much you're spending on per student. Obviously, you spend more on some students than others based on special education costs and whatnot, but they take the average. So this has moved a little. We've come up in per pupil expenditure, as have other districts. You can see over in Sharon, they're at about $35,000 per student. We're at about $19,324. So this just gives you an idea of where we stand compared to the state. All right, so herein lies the challenge of trying to come in with a low budget. As you know, as everyone knows, contracts have settled higher than they ever have before. Medical benefits are higher than they've ever been before. We were told to use a 12% benefit increase, which is $753,000. Our teachers' contract alone, and you'll see a slide about that because it's a big ticket item. This coming year is 3.8%, as will be the next year after that, and 3.9% 3 years from now. That was part of the last negotiation with the teachers group, and we still came in kind of in the lower third of all the contracts. I'll give you more information about that. But when you factor in all the contracts, all our contractual obligations, including the medical benefits, if we just kept our flat staffing, it would be 4.6% budget. Typically we're looking at, you'll see the averages in a minute, but we're looking at closer to the 2% range, some years lower. In distant past, a number of years was 0. It's just with inflation of 4% that we're factoring in and other factors, it's just, we're not in a time where we can be in that position anymore without dramatic cuts to so many things, including especially personnel, because we're an 85% people business. 85% of our budget is personnel and benefits. So of the 30 teacher contracts are negotiated at the time of our settlement, this was all we negotiated in the fall. Several of you are members of the negotiating committee along with Kathy and Council. The majority were equal to or higher than Plainville. You can see Plainville, several ended up settling either before us or many after us at the 11.5% over 3-year range. Now, our last 3-year contract for the teachers was 8.85%. So you can see the dramatic difference in the climate around contractual settlements. And honestly, the CEA gets together prior to doing any negotiations at the beginning of the cycle of the year, and they pretty much have an understanding of their tactic and where they're going to come in. So you'll see a couple of outliers, but usually they're giving up something big in order to get that low, or there's something that you don't know. Same thing with like Manchester, I believe it was, it's the first one there that was, it was over 5% each year. I think it was a 4-year contract. I don't know why, I thought it was 20-something, 22%. So
Yeah, that's just showing.
this is just showing 3 years, but it was a 4-year contract. they settled for 20-something%. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that we came in, despite it being a tough process that almost went to arbitration. We settled after leaving here after midnight, and on the eve of, just a few minutes from arbitration, we settled at a place where we could both agree on. So this is where we are, and this is a big driver of the budget, contracts. It's a people business, organization. It's not really business. So this just gives you a lot of numbers, but when you look at over time, since 2013-14, so you're looking at 10 years of contracts. The average increase is kind of this column here. Over that time period is 1.98%. We had some bigger numbers due to the health insurance crisis when we were self-insured and had to get off the self-insured because of 21 or 22 catastrophic claims that had us in the hole by, well over $2 million that year, and trying to dig our way out of that. Got into the state partnership plan. That put us in a much better position overall for a few years. Now we're starting to see those rates really climb up as well. But without the health insurance included, it would have been a 1.39% budget in 2018-19. It was the health insurance that drove that huge budget. The last 3 years, I wish I had my little pointer, but these 3 years, these are funds that were given back to the town. Those were realized savings because of the COVID closures and reductions in operations and what we were able to do. We had budgeted more than we ended up needing, so we were good partners in this, and we gave the money back. So it's over $2 million over 3 years, $2,003,572 to be exact. So just wanted to show over time, if you take out those the state cuts to the ECS grant back in 16-17 and 17-18 of $100,000 and $300,000. If you take out the unanticipated health insurance that really didn't change any services in the district, it just provided the benefits that we had to provide. If you take out the returns of funds that we did not use to the town, our budgets in the last 3 years have been 0.02, 0.02, 1.27. So last year was 3.72. So here we are. If you look at the average over this 10-year period, 1.13 adjusted average. I shared a lot on that because it's important. We try to be really good partners in coming in as low as we can, but we're operating at different times. So this just shows the breakdown of the budget balance returned to the town over the last 3 years. I won't go into too much more detail. You can look at that, but this also includes $100,000 being transferred to the turf field fund. That was a board vote to do that based on realized savings, making sure that we're building up that fund so that when the time comes when it needs to be replaced, the town's not hit with a $1 million or more need. So it's been a thoughtful way of doing that. We're getting there, I promise. Status as of New Year's Eve. Sam was here doing this on New Year's Eve, so I know it's accurate. He might have been. He works hard. What's that? It was 2022. We'll have to change that. Going into the future. He's a psychic. No, so we'll change that. I looked at this 500 times in the weekend. Neither of us saw it. So as I said earlier, salary and benefits are 85% of the total budget. That's the highlighted yellow. So you have 15% to go between the six other line descriptions, which are professional services, repairs and other property services, transportation, tuition, and other, so utilities, equipment, dues and fees. So that breaks down where all the funds are, and this just gives you where we are today. As far as funding of a school budget goes, the ECS, or Educational Cost Sharing Grant from the state, a different amount is given to every town based on where you stand economically and what the formula that they use. And a number of years ago, the legislature agreed to phase into 100% funding. It's not 100% funded right now. You're supposed to get a certain amount. If we were getting the amount that's 100%, it would be about over $12 million today. So it's been phased in over 10 years. Districts that are going down, being phased out, are also, they're not benefiting from the phasing. But it's a little more gradual for the losses they're incurring. So ultimately, we get about 27% of the funds for our budget from the state through the ECS grant, and then local funds through taxes are where the 73% comes from. So that's where a lot of the pressure on boards of education can come from, because it is costly to run schools, and to do it well, it costs money and a commitment of resources. So it's really important that you give as much detail as you can. This just shows you that phasing in. If you look at the blue line, that's been our ECS history. And we're in, obviously, 2023 right now, and looking to go up each year about 200,000. There is legislation out there right now. I heard from one of my recent superintendent meeting from the legislative group that there's a bill that's being proposed to escalate the full funding of ECS and a number of educational benefits that we would definitely benefit from. So I'll be speaking at any forums that I can to support that bill as it becomes when the time comes. So this just shows you kind of the red line is that looks different though, Sam, with the phasing in. Oh, I got it now. So it goes below there. That's over less than 10 years, right?
Less than 10 years remaining.
Yeah. That's when it started in 2019. All right, thank you. So, and just sharing, because I shared this slide with just a couple more pictures and some data from Mrs. Brzezinski, because we made a conscious decision that we fully believe, and data supports that preschool, our district preschool is really good for kids. And we do a tremendous job with preschool. We, meaning Vicki and her entire team of teachers and staff that support that program, with personnel, the resources, and those early learning experiences are so critical, helping kids at that critical time period in their life. There's just a little chart there with some data, but so the grade 1 PCS pre-K, it just shows you the data that if you went to our preschool, 46 out of 60 were at the at range, which is where they need to be. So within was 15% and below was 8%. When you look at non-PCS pre-K, the students were 59% where they needed to be, and then 24% within, so within reach, and then 17% were below. So that's just one indicator of a lot of different reasons. There's a little more information on the right, but why this program is so important. I love visiting the pre-K classes whenever I can, because it cheers you up, and they're getting a great experience, so it feels good. This is a slide I shared at convocation, just to wrap up. Our PCS team, that was our theme this year, will win together. And by win, it means accomplish all the goals and objectives that we have set for this district to make it the model school district in Connecticut. And as I've said in newsletters and other times, we already are in so many ways. We're just going to continue to expand that. My commitments for budgeting, I cut these down a little bit from the past, but to be thoughtful and mindful in our approach to budgeting, to request only what we believe essential to educate and support our students' needs. Students should have sorry about that, apostrophe after that. Continue to collaborate, communicate, innovate, and remain mindful and resilient in our budgeting practices and all we do, so modeling the portrait of graduate qualities. And do our very best for PCS children, families, and our staff. So, in just a moment, I'll get out the budget books. As I mentioned in the email I sent to the board members earlier. And this goes to the community as well. We share this with the community for the thought. Or is there a different one?
After the board meeting, we
Yeah.
didn't get community questions.
Yeah.
After the last board.
Right. So this is your board member opportunity you'll receive this PowerPoint. You can click on this link and it will take you to the form where you can enter your name and ask your questions about the budget. And this is the electronic version of what you're going to receive, the summary section and the object object section, so if you want to look at it on your computer, you'll be able to do that. You're also going to get a binder. Dave, Sam, you want to help me pass these out? Any questions about the presentation as we pass out the budget books? And thank you, Joan, for putting these beautiful budget books together, as always. Usually at the 11th hour. I don't want to overload you. Sam looks a little... Let's skip your list tomorrow. You're not enough for all the administrators, so if you want to look on your computers, you can. Just have enough right off. Not for each. I'll do is just...
Do they have one, the administrators?
Yes. So what I'd like to do now is transition to what I mentioned in the email today. It's really more of a broad or a quicker overview of the budget. If you see something obviously tonight that you want to ask a question about, please do. But you're going to have time with this. You know, we have a few weeks, and we don't adopt. The board won't adopt their budget until the February 13th board meeting. So you have, close to a month to spend with this and ask questions. We have at least 2 more meetings, maybe 3. I'm going to go through page by page and just tell me to stop or throw something at me if I'm looking down and I can't see you. But that first page, just the overall overview. Sam, I wonder if going through it on the screen would be better. I can do it on the screen.
Yeah, probably.
Instead of me flipping through the pages. At least I don't know where I am. Let me see. I'm going to. In a second, feel free to peruse.
Did you guys have the presentation that you just did? If you have that, there's links at the end. I'll share it.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, that's right there.
So the $43 million, that is before,
So this first slide represents,
Hang on a second.
oh, I'm sorry.
This is your question.
when you say that the state covers a portion and then the town's responsible, that's 100%, and then is that the 100% of everything
The slide that
at the bottom?
do you want me to answer?
Sure.
Yeah, it's 100% including the ECS grant. So the slide you showed, that was about 27% ECS,
Right.
and then the rest was, this is 100%.
So, okay, and then it would be 27% for CCS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is just an overview of the adopted budget from this current year, $41,308,797. The budget before health insurance change would have brought us to $42,643,840. The dollar increase before health insurance would have been $1.335 million. The percentage increase without the health insurance in the factor would have been 3.23%. The health insurance change represents $753,548. So increase after health insurance change, that's that plus the 1.335 million, brings it to a $2,088,591 increase, which is a 5.06% increase over last year at this point. So that is my $43,397,388 proposed superintendent's budget coming into this process based on all the work that we did to get here. The next page, any questions on that? I'm going to flip through quickly today, forgive me, and you can stop me, but we will spend a lot of time. We'll go page by page, spend as much time as we need. The next meeting, I just want to kind of get you through the whole book. And our goal is kind of to have a hard stop by no later than 9 o'clock, just so we don't wear you out. There's a lot of meetings for you over the next couple of weeks. So if that's okay with everyone. This is just a log as a way to track any changes that are made throughout the budget process. The next page is just a continuation of that. So going on to page 4, summary by objects. So the budget contains a number of object items, which are titles for different accounts that go from the 1,000s, which are the personnel, all the way down to the 8,000s. Those are those 8 different areas. As I showed you, the 85% of our budgets is contained within objects, the 1,000s and the 2,000s, the personnel and benefits. So this just gives you an overview of the dollar change within each of the areas. So the first one shows, the first column after the description, the first column shows you how much was in that account this current budget year, what's being budgeted for next year, the dollar change, and then if it's red, it went down, if it's black, it went up. So the percentage of change. So that's just to give you an overview. And we'll go through each of the object pages in the budget in great detail, so this is really just a snapshot. So feel free to look at that and write notes and send us questions, and we'll talk more, obviously, in our next meetings as well. Page 4 of the summaries is a summary by line, which gives you, as I mentioned, the 8 different object areas, 1,000 through 8,000. Salaries down all the way down to dues and fees. And it shows you the percentage of the budget represented by each of those objects, and the dollar amount, how much it changed since last year. So it's just information and perspective over time. There's also a 5-year object budget summary that you can look at, compare one year to the next, and how things have changed. On page 5, you'll see a comparison of the 21-22 actual expenditures, the adopted budget for 22-23, and my proposed budget for this year. So it just gives you a bit of a trending, if you will, from what was spent, what was adopted in the next budget cycle, and what's being requested in this budget. It breaks it down again by the 8 different object areas with that kind of orange line dividing it. On page 9, which has the bar graph, this shows you the increase to the budget this year, represented in kind of pictorial form of how much for each line. So you can see salaries and benefits were the 2 drivers of the increase based on all the contracts and based on the 12% medical insurance we were told the budget for this year. 12% increase. The others are pretty small in comparison. On page 10 of the summary, you're going to see a program budget crosswalk for this year. This shows you the different departments, the program number, the department, the salaries and benefits, the professional services, just those columns going down, repairs and other properties. So it gives you a crosswalk of how the dollars are being budgeted across the district. And it's just a different way of looking at it. You know, I don't know if this is helpful or not, but it just shows you kind of the objects spread across the different departments. And then finally on the summaries, well, 2 more pages, I'm sorry. The budget summary by location, this breaks it down by school. And there's a number of factors that result in some variances, whether it's seniority of staff or other reasons. That can change the total dollar amount, but student services, pupil personnel services, or special services is always you have each of the schools before that, instructional support. So this just gives you a breakdown by the locations and major departments, if you will. And finally, this last page is, a lot of questions usually happen around this page is the offsets. We have a number of grants, the Open Choice Academic Attendance Grant, the Social and Academic Support Grant, you have the Open Choice Early Learning Grant, Title I, II, III, IV, IDEA, IDEA Preschool, Adult Ed, Smart Start. Smart Start's related to preschool. I think he's done a great job of securing those grants to, pay for startup of classrooms and staffing and resources, ESSER salaries. So, as you can see, that a particular note is the ESSER salaries. This year, $892,000 plus is being paid for with ESSER. Next year, we're budgeting $1,047,000 of salaries to be paid with ESSER in this budget. So there's a change in the amount being offset there. You also have some other offsets with different programs that pay the town, like to use our space, the middle school, Oak Hill, YMCA programs. Some offsets of the shared services with our technology staff, does a great job supporting the entire town facilities. Payroll is a shared position. Our SRO, two SROs, I should say, middle and high school. So we support technology in payroll, and then the SROs and HR specialists, and those kind of wash out with one another. And then the excess cost grant from the state, which is a special education. There's a formula that's used for that. It's never been fully funded. It's a frustration across the state. That's also in the bill that's being proposed to try to fully fund that. It would be amazing if they did, because it's a huge driver of cost for towns. And then our school food services offset to some of the monitors that work in our cafeterias paid for through the school services. So that's a grant offset. You're going to see these red numbers within the object pages of the budget in the next section. So this is really, I always say the term drinking from a fire hose. So you're going to get a ton of information tonight. You can't possibly consume it all, but hopefully the more you hear about it, the more you hear an explanation, the better sense it makes to you into the community. But any questions on the summaries pages before we dive into the object pages? Happy to try my best.
Just so you know, Steve, the books that we have don't show the red.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so.
So it's hard for us to see what the offset is if without.
Okay. What I would say with that is that if it has parentheses around it, it's red.
Okay.
So everything without parentheses is black. So we'll get you the one. We can get you the ones that are red.
Or even just, if you have the key, that's fine.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you very much for pointing that
I
out.
don't want you to have to kill more trees.
Okay. So far after printing it all out, and we only had one page. The first page, this page, two-sided, we had to change because we had to comment for the administrators twice. Anyway, my point is we did pretty well this year, right, Sam?
Killing trees?
Yeah, well, usually poor Joan, we're like, we missed one, we gotta change this page, that page. All right, well, you can tell us how we did when we get through this. So we have a number of object pages. I'll just go through quickly today. You'll see comments. I'll read the comments to you just so you hear it. You'll have it to read and review, look at the numbers at the top. I'm not going to go into great depth. I will tell you about changes in the positions and offsets. But it's likely you'll have plenty of questions, for next time. You're welcome to ask them tonight if there's something you want to know that's kind of sticking out. Why is that the case? So this is certified administrators. There are 16 across the district. 2 are offset to the Open Choice Grant. 2 assistant principals are offset by the Open Choice Grant. That's why you see the parentheses around, toward the bottom over total after offsets. You'll see offsets. So that's why it takes it from 16 down to 14. It represents a 1.56 increase after the offsets. Our administrators negotiated a contract 2 summers ago, so they came in at, rates that were kind of lower than the contracts are coming in now, so it's just with all the timing of how things have been, that's how it was. So this represents $33,000, basically a $33,102 increase, or 1.56%. So it's just, as I said, it's the second year of the administrator's contract. We've had turnover of 1 administrator, that was Mr. Farrell, the athletic director who left. We have Mr. Fritz sitting back there now, doing a fine job. So there's a bit of a, that's why you'll see the negative 1.13%, up $5,600. District administrator, they're broken down by school, elementary, middle, or level, I should say, elementary, middle school, high school, special services, curriculum, and then district. So that's how that's broken down. So there's a little decrease there because of the one turnover at Mr. Farrell's at a higher salary, higher step than Mr. Fritz came in. That's it for that page. On page 2 of the objects, certified teachers. This was the big one I already shared a lot of information about. Last year, or this current year, we had 228.8 certified teaching positions in that bargaining group. It's increased to 233 due to a number of positions that have been added. However, the offsets have been also increased by 5 positions to ESSER and other offsets. So you see that the total after the offsets is 211 positions, which is actually a decrease from last year. But the total cost increase or budget increase is $529,520. That's the dollar change, which is 3.18% within the teacher's account. So I'll just read the comment. A new teacher's contract was negotiated in the fall of 2022, resulting in a 3-year salary increase totaling 11.5%. As usual, negotiated teacher settlements across the state fall in a tight range between the union coordinates their negotiations at a state level. Still, Plainville's was better than 30 of the 38 settlements at the time of our agreement. The 2023-24 increase was 3.8% during bargaining. That's offset by 1 announced retirement, and I expect a lot more, and 1 placeholder. Personnel additions have been added to the grant offsets. Stipends are paid based on contractual amounts for leadership roles in the district, including 3 head teachers at the elementary level, 17 instructional leaders, and 7 team leaders. Instructional leaders are at the secondary level, high school. Team leaders, high school, middle school, and team leaders are at the middle school. And then PHS and MSP VEX robotics. Stipend increases were also added to the contract and budget. So that's the description of this one. The next page is certified substitutes. So just a history on substitutes. The cost of substitutes and the ability to attract and retain substitutes has become increasingly challenging. So I've told you this, and I've updated you over the last couple of years how we've gone up in the pay structure for subs to get more qualified subs who are willing to come here. It's been beneficial. We have been able to attract and retain more subs. Some of them have moved into teaching positions. So it's a net of 1.2% change, so not a significant change. I won't read the whole bottom 2 because it's basically what I just said. We do have building subs at each of the elementary schools, the middle school, and the high school. 3 every school except the high school is 4, and those subs sub in classrooms every day. We always have a need for at least that many, and we use them first, and then we use our sub service through why is the name escaping me? Not ASUB. ASUB. So that's how we handle our subs. Certified advisors. This includes coaches and all club and activities advisors across the district. Overall, it represents an 8% change, and that's directly tied to the increase in the contract from which the there's a proportion, like a .17, .18 for a coach based on the entry level, bachelor's level salary. So with the entry level going up, in our last teacher's contract, we reduced the number of steps. So now the first 2 steps are gone. So you're really starting step 3, so it's a higher starting point to attract more and, better qualified people to be interested in Plainville. So based on that entry-level step being higher, the coaches' stipends are higher. The activities accounts are based on a different formula. There was an agreement with the union several years ago, and we continue to add 1% increase to that each year. So that's a different formula. But ultimately, it amounts to 8%. The only other thing I'm going to mention is that, working with Mr. Fritz on making sure that the coaches are being paid equitably. Our cheerleading coaches, two alumni from here, doing a tremendous job. And, I didn't realize it, but they were basically splitting a very low stipend for the fall season and splitting a stipend for the winter season. The winter goes all the way through, most of the rest of the year. And they practice, they practice all year round, and they're really not getting the stipend they should have gotten. So we built in a correction for that so that they'll get the same. It's the lowest level percentage. I think it's .14. One's going to get a .09 for the assistant, and .14 for the head coach for each season. So, they work really, really hard. They do great things. They've won all kinds of championships. So, just wanted to make sure. So they're both teaching in district, and they're very excited about that. So that's the only other major shift. That was about a $20,000 or so total cost increase for that. So, but it's the right thing to do. For chaperones, these are all the chaperones that work all the extracurricular events. This object account includes support and supervision necessary to safely run athletics, after-school, evening, and weekend events. Increase reflects a small rate increase for these positions. So,
Any questions?
yeah, I'm sorry.
Is that certified advisors?
Yes, miss.
There was a decrease for the MSP and PHS advisors?
Yeah, we've had, that's a good question. We've had difficulty securing teachers to run clubs and activities. The number of clubs and activities have gone down for whatever reason. We haven't been able to secure as many certified staff to run those clubs and activities. We put it out there a number of times. I know that I'm getting looks from some of my administrators. We've tried to get more and more to do that. The rates have come up over time, but we're not able to offer as many. Mr. Lewandowski, right? That's pretty accurate to say.
Yeah, it does fluctuate.
Yeah.
Depending on.
And some schools have a lot one season and not a lot in others, so it does fluctuate, but we're budgeting for that continued level that's similar to where we are right now, if that makes sense.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chaperones includes support and supervision necessary, so I read this one, it's about a 2% increase. This is just coverage of our evening and weekend events. Home tutors, homebound tutors, again, about a 2% increase. We've taken efforts to be very creative with alternative programs for students with disciplinary issues that warrant removal from school for periods of time. Through the use of online learning platforms and technology that students have access to, less one-to-one tutoring is provided than in the past. Still, these needs exist and are required at a minimum level by statute for alternative educational programs. Stipulated agreements with discipline matters help to reduce costs while continuing to provide a free and appropriate public education or faith alternative program. Students are on medical leave, often require a more significant amount of direct homebound instruction. So we've maintained homebound tutoring at the historic budget level with a small rate increase. Additional homebound tutoring may be funded through ESSER grants. Custodians and maintainers. This is object 1120. It's been a very minor, small increase. The union lead custodian from this current budget has been replaced. So we had that trial of a union lead custodian position that we decided to go in a different direction. It's been replaced by non-bargaining custodian supervisor for the coming coming year. The decrease of one position on this page is offset by an increase in object 1199. The custodian contract was negotiated this year through 2024-25 with increases of 2.75%, 2.25% in this current budget, and then, I'm sorry, the budget I'm proposing, and then 2.5% respectively. So that's that. Custodians and maintainers. Custodian maintainer part-time. This budget line is based on the scheduled hours of part-time custodians, each working under 20 hours per week. These custodians are the front line for out-time coverage and other assistance for the full-time custodians. Without these positions, we would incur a lot more overtime to cover permanent custodian out-time. Summer part-time hires are also budgeted in this account, so it's an increase in total. Under $6,000, 3.7%. Office professionals. We just negotiated this contract as well, and that was a successful negotiation. It's offset by an added non-bargaining human resources specialist. So in that process, we removed what used to be human resources clerk, office professional, I should say. In their group, we were able to remove common office human resources specialist with higher level of responsibilities. Remaining district office professionals support payroll and accounting functions. The offset line represents support to the adult education program as well. And the office professional contract for 23 through 25 includes a wage increase of 2.5% in each of those years. So that total contract was 7.5%. The same as the custodians, just proportioned differently over the 3 years. So we went from 25 positions to 24 because we were able to remove that HR specialist. Paraprofessionals. This, you can see total before offset, 68.2, up from 67.2. And then after the offsets, 51 positions, up from 49.7. It's the third year of a 3-year contract with our paraprofessionals, so we'll be negotiating that coming up, starting in the spring. The step scale was adjusted for equity between lowest and highest paid paras. This was done in our last contract, which also made our hiring more competitive with surrounding districts. Additional budgeted paras since 21-22 have been offset with ESSER funds. We have had to add paraprofessionals to support the significant learning needs of students and learning needs and specialized needs. So a lot of offsetting being done by ESSER funds. Scheduled hours for paraprofessionals changes frequently, also impacting the differences in full-time equivalent count year to year. The budget increase therefore includes increased hours, reduced offsets to grants, and an adjustment to a new contract. So that's the paras. Nurses, we have a small group of 7 full-time equivalent nurses, moderate increase of 2.75%. I will be negotiating with our nurses this spring. They do a great job, and it's a small group, so we're hoping to come to an agreement with them in the spring. Monitors. This object includes all cafeteria, recess, bus, and security monitors. We've had some increased need for monitors, especially on buses, and also in our schools. Elementary school monitor hours and positions were increased since COVID began, with those added positions charged to the ESSER grant. Additional monitors at the elementary schools have decreased hallway, bathroom, and lunchroom issues and concerns. It was a unanimous feeling from the elementary principals that the monitors have been worth the resources invested in that position just for the increased common structure that they provide. This has become a relatively inexpensive method of improving overall safety and student well-being in typically less structured settings. Half of the ongoing cost of elementary monitors is also offset by the food service program. You might remember me saying that on the offset page. The cafeteria services pay for half the monitors. Tutors. I think we're nearing the end of personnel anyway. So tutors, Any of the comments made to the paraprofessional object are also applicable here to the tutors, as the two groups share a contract, they're in the same bargaining group, we negotiate them together. We also have RBTs, registered behavior technicians, so there's, some layers of positions within this bargaining group and different compensation levels as well. Tutor additions are currently funded by the ESSER grant, so this one decreased by 2.79, but the paras went up by 2.7, 3.92. So between the two, it's was a modest increase in those accounts. Other non-bargaining needs a little bit of explanation. This one went up 18.07% after all the offsets are considered. So I'll try to explain that. Changes to the non-bargaining line include the addition of custodial manager, offset by a union lead custodian. I mentioned that in a previous object. Also, an office professional position was converted to non-bargaining human resources specialist as part of the contract negotiation. I mentioned that too. This was necessary to accommodate a scope of work beyond what would be covered with an office professional contract. A new position, sign language interpreter, was also added to the special services line. This position came in like during the middle of the previous contract, but had to be included in this contract. It was a need that arose after the budgeting had already happened the previous year. So that's within the special services group. Director of security, district security director, and MSP security officer were also added to this object account under district and MSP. So that's why the increase in this account for non-bargaining. It's the security, primarily those security positions and sign language interpreter. Classified subs. This is not used anymore, so that's an easy page. Same thing with classified overtime. So we're moving on to the benefits. And these are pretty simple because they're strictly based on what the town's insurance carriers estimated that their base rate could be as high as 12%. So they're saying maybe even, they're afraid it may be even higher. So we've been asked by the town finance manager to budget for 12% increase. This could change. This additional rate information becomes available a couple more times in the process. However, rates have been on the rise, so that's where this 12%, which is $753,000 increase comes from. Disability insurance. This for administrators, it's budgeted in other district accounts as in prior years. Page 19, life insurance. A slight decrease there based on actual experience analysis of historical expenditures, so that went down by 8.9%. So it better reflects what the history's been. This object was consolidated, so 2107 is no longer there. Social Security and Medicare is calculated person by person and reflects the calculation of Social Security on applicable employees. This is just a standard. There's really no room to change that. But it does increase by $41,000. Retirement, we try to factor in employer severance and retirement benefits, payments based on historical rates and age categories of our workforce. It's recognized in the year of retirement and fluctuates based on the number of retirees in any given year. As we said, we budgeted for 2. We only had 1 announced, but we expect there'll be more, so we'll have to adjust that accordingly. But that number's been good in the past. For the pension plan, this is another one that the defined benefits and defined contribution plans for non-TRB, teacher retirement bureau board employees, such as custodians and office professionals, paras, and non-bargaining. This rate represents the Board of Ed portion of the amount of the account expense as we were informed by the town's director of finance. So they give us the rate that we need to use, and it's 9.6%. Tuition reimbursement. This is part of the administrator's contract. It's basically first come, first approved to get this funding if they would like to school, which is $8,000 available for the entire bargaining group. That's not for each person, so we're flat funding that and expecting it'll probably be, that's the cap on it, so if it's not used, it will be applied elsewhere. Unemployment compensation, this is based on typical historical payments, pretty low figures, so no change there. Workers' comp, increased actuals experience with workers' compensation, the change is based on expected rate increase, so 3%. Purchase services account, object 3201. This has a number of instructional technology software, includes more than 30 software titles, majority of which are listed below. Also included are townwide art show costs, visiting authors, and guest presenters. Our administrators and district technology committee reviews technology needs and potential efficiencies to ensure accurate budgeting and removal of lesser needs. Cost increases are largely reflective of software licensing fees, approximating 5% increase overall. Incremental cost of new software has been charged to ESSER, so new purchases charged to ESSER is returned to this account. So a lot of money for software, instructional technology software. Next one is 3302. It's not used. It's reflected in certified teachers line. Because it involves teacher payment, so it's in that teacher line. 3301, professional operating services, remaining flat at $145,000. This is our legal fees. And legal challenges and disputes requiring representation and consult have largely been settled. Contractual negotiations were complete this year for 3 major bargaining groups, including teachers, office professional custodians, and maintainers. Paraprofessionals and tutor contracts must be negotiated this spring, along with nurses, a very small non-unionized group. Administrator's contract will be next summer of '24. No anticipated increase is needed in this account. Technical services. So this includes 23 non-instructional applications such as Power School Suite of Services, NovaTime, AppleTrack. NovaTime is a punch-in, punch-out system for non-bargaining. AppleTrack is our HR software for applying for positions. ASOP is our, if you're going to be out sick, that's how you put it in, you get substitutes. Qualtrics for surveying, Google license fees, security camera operation software, and many, many others. I also want to explain this line, and Mr. Fritz worked with us on this as well. New requirements for athletic trainers. So athletic trainers who work in schools are now required to have a master's degree in athletic training. And an adjustments we made to the trainer line over the next couple of years to ultimately what this says is that the company we get our athletic trainer through was going to charge $15,000 more for next year and then $2,500 more for the following 2 years. So a total of $20,000 increase. The availability of the trainers, sometimes they'll take them, move them around to different locations where they need trainers. There's going to be a shortage. We have a really great trainer who loves it here. We'd like to hire her, so in order to do that, it wouldn't be much more than what we would be paying for, less consistent service and not the same person. So it just makes a lot of sense. So Mr. Fritz was, helpful in having the vision for this adjustment. So you see a change of 8.8% in this one, but especially now having a qualified trainer who's familiar with your school, familiar with the kids, is really critical for all the potential and actual problems we've had, just with things that happen in the practices and in the games. So
Is that the ASOP that he's doing?
no, it's for the athletic trainer. ASOP is a substitute service for teachers.
But I just remember you telling me that there was this is just for his master's?
No, so our trainer, I'm sorry, I don't know.
Oh, maybe Mark, yeah, go ahead.
Our trainer is contracted out through Select Medical,
Okay.
so they issue us a contract to X amount of dollars, these are the hours that you're gonna get and the services that we're gonna provide you. So, for the same services that we're getting this year, they're going to increase the cost by $15,000. So our contract this past year was for $30,000, next year they're going to charge $45,000 for the same services, same amount of hours that we got this past season. And then for the next 2 years, it'll go up another $2,500
I see, okay.
to make a total of
It doesn't have to
$50,000.
do with the training that he's receiving then?
So and where the master's component comes into it is anyone graduating now from school has to have a master's. If you've already graduated, you're grandfathered in. So
Okay.
Mary, our athletic trainer, would be covered under this new law because she's already a practicing athletic trainer. If she were graduating from college this year, she would have to get whoever the athletic trainer graduating would have to get a master's to then hold the same position.
I
So
see.
that requirement is putting greater restrictions on the amount of people going into that field because there's more requirements on them with less of a pay increase. So people are choosing to go into PA school or PT school rather than becoming an athletic trainer. So the pool to choose from is decreasing, making it difficult to get coverage for schools.
I see, okay. I guess I was looking at the relation between this and the tuition reimbursement. Are they like the same type of,
No,
It's about, yeah,
no.
okay,
Tuition reimbursement is an administrative bargaining group benefit. So if Mr. Johnson wanted to go back to school to get his doctorate or something,
that's different,
he could apply for no pressure, Carl. He could apply for, making sure I have a lead. He could apply for tuition reimbursement,
I see.
and if no one else in the group wanted it, he could apply for up to $8,000. There's $8,000 for the whole group to use during the year, so it's a different.
I just wasn't sure if it was connected somehow between
No, this is
the
just.
services versus.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just need to hammer this into my brain a little bit. So instead of you paying for a service that's going to be increasing where there could be, so it's a service where we are paying for a trainer so we could get just a trainer, not
Right.
someone who has established a relationship with a kid. So now instead of using the service, we would be having our own.
We have our own trainer on staff working for Plainville.
Gotcha.
And the other thing with Mark,
In-house trainer, grandfathered in with the education requirements, being funded through
it'd be a non-bargaining position.
non-bargaining position. Okay, got it. Thank you.
And Mr. Fritz, you also mentioned that sometimes they'll pull a trainer from, it's like a day of practice or something, it's
Right.
like to work a game in a different town, so you might not have someone for, so you don't have that consistency or reliability that we're looking for. So it's, for not much more money, it's really, I think it's a sensible budgetary decision.
So
Yes.
under this non-contracted position, would she be eligible for going back for her master's?
No, she wouldn't need to because she's
No, I'm saying if she chose
grandfathered
to.
in.
Yeah, she can do it.
She could, I'm just didn't know if she was eligible for,
No, because she wouldn't be part of the administrative bargaining group. It's the only group that has that benefit. No tuition reimbursement for the other groups.
I was just curious.
Yeah. It's a reasonable question. We are at the utilities now, and exciting stuff. Mike, get ready for calisthenics. Get ready to go. All right, water services, 4111. This is a 1.3% increase, fees for water service in each school, estimated based upon the analysis of actuals and billing. So that's not much you can do with that.
Water's expensive.
Water is expensive.
Not anywhere near as expensive as it actually should be.
Yeah, right.
I know.
Sewer's gotta be
Sewer's about the same, 1.4% increase based on usage and costs and fees. I'm going to fly through these. Refuse collection, we've had a long-standing contract. It's been very competitive pricing from a local trash hauler, helps to maintain very consistent pricing because I say this every year and all we get changes. So that's a good thing. And they do a good job. Repairs, the buildings, this one is zero increase. Budgets for routine Preventive maintenance and an estimate for unexpected repairs. Budget continues to be maintained as close to typical actions as possible. Any unusual repairs beyond typical needs would be paid for through ESSER until those funds are gone, of course, which, the clock is ticking. I won't be able to say that in next year's budget development as much, that's for sure. Equipment repairs. This object includes facilities equipment repairs, musical instrument repairs, as well as our copier maintenance agreement. Increases are largely related to rise in actual cost of musical instrument and equipment repairs, along with an increase to the line based on experience. So it's about 3% increase, $300. We also have a lot more instruments because we purchased about $80,000 worth of ESSER funds to provide more instruments. As you saw, the 6th grade band had 101 students in it. We have a lot of students playing music and playing instruments, which is awesome. We just have to repair them when they break down. So it's just one of the side expenses of that. Repairs for plumbing. This one, 6% increase, includes preventive maintenance and repairs that have been under budgeted compared to actual expenses in recent years, so it's bumping that up by $1,750. Rising costs of plumbing repairs also necessitate this increase. Electrical repairs, very similar. Covers generator maintenance and repairs, auditorium, stage lighting repairs, VFD repairs and replacement. I don't know what that is, but I'm sure it's something important. What's a VFD, Mr. Smith? Do you know this one?
It's one of the drives for the HVAC system.
Thank you. Wasn't fair of me to test you in front of everybody, but in cleaning of solar panels and unplanned electrical repairs, should it be necessary, plan to use ESSER funds for expenditures beyond the budget. We just budget, we hope enough. This next line, repairs, time and security, includes fire and intrusion, alarm and camera preventative maintenance and repairs. No increase, flat funding that. HVAC repairs, a very, very small $50 increase.
That's it?
Yeah.
And what's $50 to buy?
This is to,
I guess I'm being a wise guy.
this is to purchase a new tool belt for Mr. Dixon. No,
But I mean, this is for all 5 schools, correct?
Yeah, HVAC preventive maintenance and repairs, overall repairs and maintenance. So it's just,
Much of that's done in-house by our maintainers.
It just seems low, that's all,
Thank
$50.
you for being efficient.
rentals, 4421, includes year 2 of a 5-year copier contract. Some graduation expenses previously assigned to this account were moved to 5901, so that's flat funded. Kevin has done a good job with the copier contract, so we're in a good position there. Take the most copies, hopefully, that we have. Other services, this includes adjusted athletic officials' pay with typical game schedules based on account balance and analysis of needs for 23-24. This also includes facility services such as central office cleaning and district-wide exterminating. So officials are the big chunk of this one for all the different games and seasons. Transportation services, 5101, so we're on the next object. So all these are related to basically mostly transportation. This includes in-district regular education, home-to-school transportation, our buses to and from school. Our DACO and contractual increase is 2.9% this year, which it was the current year as well. I think next year it goes up to 3.5% for the last year, if I'm not mistaken, right, Sam? Yeah. So that'll be, next year will be our last year of the contract with, well, the year after next, I should say. This budget is 2.9%, so we have 2 more years to go. Driver shortage has forced us to run fewer buses. While this has caused numerous challenges, it's also saved some transportation costs, so we're anticipating the driver shortage to continue to require some efficiencies offsetting the contractual rate increase. So, working with DACO, kind of turning a negative into as much of a positive as you can, but that's remaining flat.
So the percent increase in the contract next year is 2.9 again.
after this?
Yeah,
After this
it's 2.9 and another.
Okay, that's what it was. It was the same for 2 years and 2.5 for 1 year, and 2.9 for 2 years. All right, that's good. Thank you. Transportation for field trips, 5102 includes estimated transportation for district-wide trips, field trips. Other field trip transportation and admission fees are paid through activity funds, and some presentations are held in district. When possible and conducive to student enrichment and learning experiences, this account, sorry for the misspelling of account, also includes a number of student musical performances, transportation needs. The increase is to support planned elementary and music trips in 23 and 24, so slight increase with more trips being planned, about $2,000 worth. Other purchaser, so transportation for athletics, this is from Mr. Fritz. It includes all transportation expenses for regular season and potential playoff athletic competitions across the region and around the state. You have to budget for those. We hope all our teams make the playoffs. If they don't, the money is, rolled back in. The 23-24 increase approximates transportation rate increases shared on the other side. Transportation, this one was the vans, just combined with the other transportation lines. So 5109, this is special education transportation, which is a big expense, based on in-district and some out-of-district student requirements. Special education transportation is required by state and federal law to be reported separately. That's why you see it broken out here. And it counts toward our excess cost grant, which is what I was complaining is never fully funded, but they're hoping to address that in upcoming legislation, I hope. The increase in this account is due to statewide bus shortages resulting in higher costs for contracted providers. DACO does a lot of ours. We have some other providers as well. It's really a challenging area. Some that have gone with, I won't name them, but some have had some nightmare experiences with kids just not being picked up for days and weeks on end, just having no alternative. So we've done really well with our leadership and our relationship with DACO and other providers. We've developed relationships with smaller providers, with vans and such. Okay, 5212 insurance liability. It's contracted as a shared service between the town and the board. The expected increase per our insurance advisor in collaboration with the town is reflected here, so 8% increase. Everything benefits related is going up. Insurance, sports liability, this is the liability insurance for students that the district carries. This is based on the broker recommendation. So that went up to 5%. Just under $2,000. Telephone. Kevin, the tech gang, based on experience, this is being increased a little bit, but obviously compared to what we were paying in the past with our previous phone system, a tremendous savings every year after that initial implementation. So it's budget based on recent experience. Postage. Postage rates have gone up. We do as little postage as we can, but we still do need postage for some mailings. We continue to reduce the quantity of those mailings, but over the course of the district, over the course of the year, that's not a lot of money when you think about 2,300 students and all the things that are sent. So that's what we're looking at for postage based on our needs. Advertising. This one is no longer an account. Consolidated. Communication and printing. This one did go up by about $10,750, which is percentage-wise 36.3%. It includes communications for Plainville Community Schools and adult ed programs, printing costs. It also includes school printing needs, letterhead and forms and such, and some of the expense related to growing school business partnerships. Costs are adjusted to reflect most recent experience, including expanded fieldwork experience, FWE, and college and career pathway promotion efforts. So a lot of printing of different signage and whiteboards and other media related to our college and career pathways work and expansion. So it looks like a tremendous increase in percentage. It's about less than $11,000, and we believe that's well worth the investment. And and other needs for communication. I think we do really well in Plainville with communication, thanks to Lynn Davis and so many others.
The title of that communication plan is a little bit of a misnomer because it really does include all the costs related to the field we're experiencing in pathways in this town.
Thank you. If you've ever seen, the adult ed publications that go out, Jill's back there, thanks for joining. A lot of beautiful work, really marketing our programs and our resources. Tuition. This includes the Southington BOE program. We can't accommodate those students here in town. We do have to pay tuition to Southington. Currently have 11 students enrolled in that program. And the proposed program tuition budget approximates this year's expenditures. 5602 is other purchased services. This is, we keep as many of our students, so this is for outplaced students. You can look at past year, past budget, or budgeting for this year remaining flat. You can see the offset based on the excess cost grant, which is $575,000 if you're looking at the top of this table. So we're staying flat to last year, which last year we increased by about $50,000. This year we're trending to budget, which is a good thing. Last year I know we're $300,000 or $400,000 in the hole already at this point, a year ago. So we're in a better position right now. So we're hoping that continues. Tuition for out-of-state special ed. This account's no longer used. 5801, conference and travel. This is for any conferences and travel expenses, mileage reimbursement, conference fees, Teacher of the Year conference fees, all in support of improved professional growth and impact on our student success. Increases based on recent actual expenses since the end of COVID and an increase to related travel based on reduced limitations. We do take advantage of a lot of virtual opportunities too, but sometimes we have people go to conferences, myself included. Travel specialists, 5802. It's used for mileage reimbursement for specialists who travel between schools. This account has been adjusted to reflect the experience, so it did go up, less than $2,000. It looks like a huge change, but it's based on a small starting number, so we just had to adjust that to reflect what the actual amounts have been. It was under budgeted. 5901, other purchase services. Includes some central office services, unemployment tax services, centralized district funded graduation, and other special events such as Super Senior. This one we're keeping flat. This seems to have been a sufficient amount in recent years. 6103, supplies and maintenance, includes facilities supplies. Overall repairs and maintenance are slightly increased based on projected needs across the district. Some anticipated increases include continued use of high efficiency air handler filters, Merck 13 filters. 6104, at 6 minutes left, and I think we're going to get there. This includes cleaning supplies at a cost controlled through the cleaning supplies vendor agreement that we have in place, so no increase there. It's flat, breaks it down by the school and how much. Getting to central supplies. Includes a variety of district-related supplies from a number of vendors, such as School Specialty, WB Mason, and Quill. Looking for no change there. That amount has been sufficient as well. Our principals and everybody's been as efficient as possible in only ordering what they need. Supplies for duplication. This represents a $500 change or 2%. Includes centrally controlled copy paper purchasing. New habits supported by investment in software are expected to continue to maintain improvements in the amount of paper we use. The district continues to use a program called PaperCut to monitor duplicating, address excessive use, and manage overall duplicating costs. This is one of the best things Kevin did, because if you send something to a printer, it won't automatically print it out. You go there and you fob in or you enter your code and it prints it out when you're really ready for it. Sometimes you may change it, you may decide you don't want it, or you may get distracted and never go and get it. It prints out, it sits on the printer, and someone throws it away or puts it in the scrap paper pile. It would happen more times than you would imagine in the past. Kevin could tell you stories, but we're not going to ask him to. But paper cut is, just really trying to limit the amount of waste, eliminate waste. Supplies instructional is a 1.1% increase. This includes instructional supplies across all schools and programs such as art materials, books and classroom supplies, including purchases related to illustrative math, which should be capitalized math, it's a program, but illustrative math curriculum for grades K through 5 and needed NGSS or Next Generation Science Standards materials. So that one went up a little bit, especially the three, elementary, middle, and high school. Account 6112, supplies non-instructional, includes non-instructional supplies for uniforms, sporting equipment, volunteer programs, food for school events, musical instrument supplies, total of 34 school and program accounts. The increase reflects inflation of costs. The account also includes the purchase of the new VEX materials for the very excited and expanded VEX program here at the high school. We're hoping to expand it in the elementary. We haven't had a taker to run those clubs at the elementary school yet, but we did get approval from the board to do that, so we'll see what happens. 6113, supplies for testing. This is the special ed testing. It also includes PSAT tests. This account also covers purchasing of new required special education test materials when new editions are released and purchased. So, modest increase of $575, 3.9%. Moving on to software instructional, a decrease of $7,000 to this account, which is 25% decrease, 25.2. It includes special education and school-based instructional software. A lot of care is used in purchasing only software that meets legal obligations for privacy, student privacy, or adds educational value to students, resulting in savings. This line includes our online IEP development and monitoring software. So it has included that in the past to keep up with state compliance. So the frontline IEP and the 504 Direct is no longer going to be needed. It's no longer needed with the new state required IEP and related software. So that's why the reduction there. Software non-instructional, 6115, includes telephone software costs, energy and technology, network software, increase based on experience and rising costs. Energy, natural gas, 2.2% increase. Our accounts with Eversource natural gas across the district is based on anticipated need and contracted rates. Energy, electrical. This is Eversource as well. The increase is based on significant rising energy costs, despite locking in prices at a more favorable level than many are paying. And we're currently working with new solar programs that will try to expand and maximize future savings. Fuel oil, very small amount. This is just for the emergency generators, so building that back in for the last couple of years. Gas and diesel, the town, Rob and Sam did a good job of locking in district fuel prices at the best time they could, but prices were higher regardless. So there's an increase there of 10.1% or $13,000. So it's just an unfortunate sign of the times, but again, it could have been a lot higher if they locked in later. So it was a good job on their part. Textbook supplies. This is a composite of all textbook accounts at the middle and high school adult ed, and as well as textbook purchases controlled by the curriculum department. Increases in some departments, some increases in adult ed were offset by larger decreases in math textbook purchases due to the use of math software such as Decimals. I'm all starting to not be cooperative with me. Workbooks. This increase, 700% increase. Catastrophic, but it's $3,500. And I am looking into this. Dave, I don't know if you got an answer on that, but we're looking into this because we believe that the Tunxis Perkins grant is going to cover. This is for the Tunxis business course, a new course at the high school that require to use these workbooks. So You know, it's a $4,000 line item, it went up $3,500, which is 700%, but relatively small amount, and it's giving students at college level a college credit experience. Library books, this is flat funded based on the needs of each school, and they get it based on each of the schools get a library allowance, if you will. Periodicals, this line includes the Note Flight program for general music classes. It's similar to Google Drive for music, though. Among other periodicals, the line decreased in previous years due to online availability of resources, so it's flat funded there. New equipment, we're in the 7,000s, we're almost there. Regular and special education classroom equipment is budgeted on this line, including technology, education, art, and other equipment. So that did go up about $600, or 5.9%, based on inflated costs. 7302, equipment replacement. Several projects have been completed, including replacement of time clocks in each school over the years. This account contains requests for new table saws and shop equipment. At the middle school, I know it's the one where you put the hot dog in and it stops. For safety reasons, really important. So that's why this one it remained flat, because some things came off and some things went on. All good things. And then I think this is the last one. It is the last page. Dues and fees. It's 9 o'clock. Dues and fees include membership costs across a number of organizations, some of which increased due to rising costs in most areas. This is everything from CAVE to Connecticut Association of Schools, CIAC, NEASC, lots of different dues and fees that school districts have to, some have to, belong to. That is the entire budget book, 79 pages plus the 12-page summaries, plus the 61-slide presentation. My administrators are all still awake. The board members are all still awake. I'm kidding, but there's a lot. So like I said, drinking from a fire hose. I tried to give you everything, a summary of everything, kind of a balcony view tonight. I expect you'll get down on the dance floor and look closer. Please do. It's meant to be a transparent process where no secrets. This is what it is. This is what we're asking for. I try to come in at a place where, so 5.06, it's a large budget for Plainville for the board. My understanding is that the town's probably going to be somewhere in a similar ballpark from what we're hearing from our counterparts in the finance area. I expect that we'll have some good conversations, some probing questions. Please, I'll share this electronically with you so that you can
See the red.
so you can click on you can see the red. You can see it in the link. Yeah, you'll see. You don't have it yet, so I'll share it with you electronically either later tonight or first thing in the morning. And you'll also be able to click on the bit.ly to enter questions. Then we can, sooner the better, because then it gives us time to, if it's a complicated question, it'll give us time to find you the answer before our next meeting. But you can ask. If anyone has any questions now that are burning in your mind.
I just have a quick one.
Yeah.
Just because it might require a little bit of time. Sam, can we have a list of what each school administrator requested from the beginning, line by line? So we can see each other. Thank you.
Yeah, we are planning to grant the administrators all the supply items that they requested through a combination of the budget and supplementing with ESSER funds this year. I think that was about 66,000, wasn't it, Sam? ESSER funds to supplement what's actually in this budget
But all of their, like, requests, like staff?
across the all staff.
Yeah, like, anything that the administrators requested.
Yep.
I think
We can get you a full
that'd be
report
great.
on that.
Thank you.
Any other questions before we wrap for tonight? I'll make sure you have all the resources you need. Yes, Mrs. Clark?
The program budget crosswalk on page 10. The program numbers obviously do not coordinate with the certified, like the numbers on the object budget pages. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like
Is it different
far as how, like, getting information on the program budget crosswalk details, is that possible?
Sam, do you understand what?
So program numbers on this, can we have detailed information on expenditures for each of these items? Itemized information,
So, help me out a little bit, like one's art, so what would you want to see for art?
an itemized,
Because art provides all the salaries related to art, provides all the benefits related to art.
I don't necessarily want to know
It would
about
be like another
benefits, but,
budget book.
huh?
It would be like another budget book.
The
We
salaries, how it's
generally-
broken down, like how many people, how many, you know,
How many art teachers?
yeah, so on and so forth. The same thing for, like for social studies or student activities, like how many, you know, special education. Because the special education, you know, is a large amount. I'm just saying, we don't have, we have itemized information for the other.
You have all that information, it's just not quite sliced this way.
I
So what
went
you're
through
really
as you
asking
were
for
doing
is
and
another
trying to
budget
match
book.
back and forth.
Yeah.
And I wasn't seeing what I was looking for, so that's why I'm asking.
You're
I'm
asking-
not a big fan of this slide. Part of me didn't want to have it in there because it's kind of confusing, but it's basically just taking a different look at the same resources that are in the 79 pages of object codes and just spreading them out
Well,
across
I
the different departments.
think it'd be interesting to know like how the Board of Education spent their money this past year. See if we could maybe save the town money that way. You know, it's budgeted for $82,000. Is there some way that, you know, us, as we can contribute to saving money? You know, that, you know, for instance.
So for each of
You
these,
see what I'm saying? That
She's looking at one of the lines, it's 2310, it's about the fifth line from the bottom,
Mhm.
and it's,
I'm just saying that that's like our budget. So if we can see an itemized amount of the way things are spent, it would be, you know,
what you're really asking for is like another budget book. This is another way of looking at the budget book, so we have to give you like another 80 pages that
I'll take
now,
it.
you can also run another 2 weeks of work. We've never looked at it in that way. It's the same numbers, just sort of organized in a different.
What have you got by,
Well, for how-
have you got information per school? Like, see, a breakdown per school, so you can see what, you know,
I don't,
sometimes I've seen that.
You could do it with like the staff at each school.
well,
We
health
have the report.
services.
We have the report on staffing, I know, like for each number of teachers per grade, per school.
So is that,
I see the same point, it doesn't
Right,
say
for
like
health
the number of
services,
art
who are-
teachers, it doesn't
for
say the
health
number of social studies
services,
teachers.
who are the health services people?
Yeah, but we have a report on staff, but it's not budget. I'm trying to think, what's, the report where we have how many teachers are per class, per grade, and what's projected for the next 10 years?
Yeah, it was in Dave's
Yeah.
presentation.
I'm sorry, is that what you,
No, that's not what I want.
Just
I
for-
wanna know,
Like
How
what
many-
exactly for art is what we can.
Yeah. Yeah. I wanna know what's budgeted for each one.
So Sam and I can look at that and see. what
So
we
can I ask a question of you, Cassandra? So if you know that, you know, art costs this much money because there's X amount of teachers in each school and you know, we spend X amount of money on each, you know, for supplies and whatnot, how would that change your perception of what
It's
we should?
transparency, that's all. That's all. I
It
just
shows
was
that
asking.
here, though, look at, you see art, you got salaries, you got their benefits.
I know, I
But
just-
you want even that broken down?
So yes, that's what I was asking for. It's just transparency and it's just a question.
Yeah,
No
but when you look at the amount of work, like, do we want our business manager to do that? I guess that's the
I
question.
guess, yeah, I mean, it's just, it's something to pull. I mean, if you would rather me just pull like 5 of my favorite things off the list, I can do that for you, Sam. I mean, if that would make it a difference, that I'm most curious about, I can do that.
It would be hours and hours and hours of work to do what you're asking. Not that we can't do it, we're glad to do what you need to help your decision making, but anything that you could do to be more specific about an area that you think would be an opportunity for diving into, that would be very
is it easier by amount, or is it easier by, like, just, is
You
it,
just give the name, like if you wanted to know,
like, the department?
yeah,
Like,
so that
that's-
second column, the name, so.
Okay.
Your instruction, what is that, if you want to, just for a few examples, but Sam unfortunately will be doing all of this work, because he does all the spreadsheets and the connection to,
I'm just not sure, you know, I know you said transparency, which is fine, however, we're here to do a budget.
Right, and it's
So-
how the budget is broken down.
No, it's not, this is not how the budget is broken down. The first part is how the budget is broken down. I mean, no one understands what the transparency that you're looking for is, how it's going to affect us making a decision on whether this budget gets passed.
Well, when you first asked the question, Cassandra, it was pretty broad, and I think now you've agreed to focus in a little bit, and so I'm very good with
Okay,
that. So thank you.
thank you.
just to give you some examples of how, like, one of these items is, what comprises it. To do it for all of them would, I know would take probably.
I mean,
probably
clearly,
100
it's an
hours.
impossible thing for all of them, I understand that, you know,
Not by Thursday.
it's okay.
What would it be, the 10th?
I think we're in a good place. You're gonna go in, you're gonna look, and you're gonna ask me more specific questions, so I'm very good
Yeah.
with that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other